So welcome students to this class. In the last class we got some idea about second law of thermodynamics, and there we saw that if suppose there is some stone here and then it falls from here, then when it is striking to the ground it will have mechanical energy, that is kinetic energy, because of the velocity. And then after then when it has struck to the ground and when its velocity has come to zero, then we saw that kinetic energy goes inside the molecules and they start vibrating and the temperature of the stone goes up. So this is called that we say that the energy, kinetic energy, has gone into the internal energy, or you can say that it has converted into heat energy because the stone has heated up. So we saw that we were discussing that mechanical energy, that is kinetic energy or potential energy, and kinetic energy, they are kept in mechanical energy. So these energies can be easily converted to heat energy, that is the internal energy, with 100% efficiency. All the mechanical energy you can change, for example here. But if you want to convert this energy into mechanical energy, then it's difficult, because you saw here that all the energy has gone inside this stone, but because of this energy, stone cannot go again up here, because internal energy cannot change into potential energy or mechanical and kinetic energy. And the reason was that all the molecules are vibrating in different direction or moving. In case of liquid in case of liquid, they are moving actually. So if you are vibrating in different direction, then this energy cannot be utilized to convert into mechanical energy. So second law is based upon all these things. And second law has come from these kind of situations. It says that heat energy cannot be converted into mechanical energy. This energy cannot be converted into mechanical energy, or if it can be converted, then it cannot be converted with 100% efficiency. Some heat energy will be lost in that process. So all these things we will discuss in heat engine. Actually, second law, the formulation or the making of the second law has come from the study of heat engines. So without going into any detail, I will just come to the topic, that is the heat engine. So let's start from some example. Suppose you have some vessel and it has got water into it. This is actually Joule's experiment, and it has got this agitator. Now this is the pulley here, and this pulley has got this weight. You put some weight and it will come down and it will rotate, and its kinetic energy will go into the molecules and they will start moving with more velocity. That is, the temperature of the water will go up. Suppose the temperature was, that time when we started, it was 20 degrees centigrade. Then after the experiment it goes up to 30 degrees centigrade. So we saw that this potential energy or mechanical energy could be converted into this heat energy. But is it possible that if this is here like this, in this condition, at the bottom this weight is, now is it possible that if the water is at 30 degrees centigrade or 40 degrees centigrade or 50 degrees centigrade, it can rotate this agitator, and this weight can lift up, or you can say that heat energy can be converted into potential energy. So we saw that it does not happen actually. There is only one direction, that energy can only go into these molecules, but the backward direction is not possible. because molecules are moving in different directions, and to rotate it, this would have a condition like this. Suppose this is agitator, and they should have a specific velocity, then only they can rotate this agitator. And here the molecules should have this velocity, this. So it is not possible, because in nature everything is, molecules are in random state, they are moving in random direction. So this is actually second law. It says that heat energy cannot be converted into mechanical energy, and if it can be converted, then all the heat energy cannot be converted into full mechanical energy. So we will see now that how to convert this heat energy, that is, suppose the water is at some high temperature, and how we will convert this energy into mechanical energy, how we will rotate this machine. So for that purpose heat engines were invented. What the examples of heat engine is in old days, when there was this steam engine in which coal was burnt and water was heated and the steam was generated, and this steam was used to move the engine or to give it velocity. So this mechanical energy was. And nowadays you see in powerhouse steam turbines are there. They are used to produce electricity, and the process is like this, that there is a furnace and coal is put here, coal is burnt here, fire, and with the help of this fire water is heated, water is there in this boiler, and high pressure steam is made, steam is generated with the help of this heat, and then this steam goes into a turbine. This is the turbine. There are blades in the turbine. These rotate because of the pressure of the steam, and this turns the generator and electricity is produced. And the spent steam that is at low pressure is again condensed here. Cooling water from river or something like that is put on this hot steam. This converts again into water, and this is again pumped into the boiler. So this way water circulates. So this is the working of a heat engine, and here you can see that what equipments, additional equipments we had to use here, because you can see here, suppose the water is at 100 degrees centigrade. Suppose it is much more higher temperature actually in actual process. So this heat, that is the internal energy, to convert it into this mechanical energy, you can see that how much process means how many this turbine we have to use, all these equipments we have to use. Only then you can convert this heat energy. So directly you can not convert. For example, in that Joule's experiment, you can agitate water with the mechanical energy, and directly you will get high temperature water. But this high temperature water cannot rotate this machine directly, so you will have to take this process, put this process. So for example, here with the help of this heat you need to generate steam, and with that steam you need to run the turbine, and that turbine will run this machine. So this is the process of heat engine, and now I will give you the language used in the heat engine, because that will be used in various expressions, and proofs. So this is the figure schematic diagram of heat engine, and here where you are burning your fuel, that is this here furnace. So you are giving heat to the water, and this heat is represented by this way. Mod you will put, because it is the only numerical value and you are not showing the sign of it. So this is called hot reservoir. From the hot reservoir you are taking heat QH and you are giving to the water, and this is your turbine. Here you will take work, and work again you will show this way. You are putting mod because you just learn that you have to put mod, because you are interested only in numerical value. Otherwise, if you will follow the rules of those thermodynamics that we discussed, then you will have to show the work this way if you are properly showing it, because this is work is positive when you are giving it to the system. That's why we are not taking that thing, and we are showing it going outward, and we are showing its numerical value, that this much work is going out. And the same way here, this is the condenser where this steam is converted into liquid water with the help of cold water from outside. So that is that. If you are taking heat, if you are giving the heat to the river, then that river will be called cold reservoir. And its temperature is shown this way, and its temperature is shown TH. So this is all notation, and the heat is shown this way, it is going out, and this is shown this way. QC heat you are giving to the cold reservoir. So QH is the heat, absorbed heat, QC is the discarded heat, and W is the net work that you are getting from the system. Now when we are running our heat engine, then in what thing we will be the most interested, because here you are burning your coal, you know, you are burning your coal, and here you are getting your electricity. So you will be interested in seeing how much coal you are burning and how much electricity you are getting out of that coal, or you can say in mathematical way that how much heat you are giving to the boiler and how much work you are getting out of here. So this is all this is actually in other words, you are actually interested in the efficiency, or you can say thermal efficiency. Here the efficiency of this heat engine is called, this kind of efficiency is called thermal efficiency. So I am writing it here, thermal efficiency, and it is called eta, and it is W. So now you can understand here why we put mod here, because we are interested in only numerical value. If we put here, if we don't put mod here, then we will have to put the sign also of these quantities, but we are not interested in that even when we are calculating efficiency or something like that. So okay, anyways, you just understand this formula, that how much work you are getting when you are giving 1 unit of heat to the system. So I will show you how we can develop formula for that. Let's give it equation number 1. Now we will apply first law of thermodynamics. Apply first law, and where it is to be applied, the system is this. So the law is applied on some mass of water. Suppose mass of water is here, 1 kg water is this in the pipe, it goes into the boiler, and here this mass converts into steam, mass of steam, and this steam, the same water it is goes into the this turbine, and here it gives you work, and then it comes out as low pressure steam, and then it goes to the condenser and again converts to water, this 1 kg water, and this water comes here, and then again it reaches to this place where it started. Suppose I give it number 1. So this is where this completes the cyclic process. You can see this cycle is completed, that is the water has reached to its initial state. So now we can apply this first law of thermodynamics to this 1 kg of water mass. So I am writing here the law, this Q plus W. Now because it is a cyclic process, suppose water is started at 25 degrees centigrade, it goes into this boiler, again here all the process, again it comes to 25 degrees centigrade. Its change in internal energy will be 0, because these kind of energies are 0, but there must be some heat or work kind of thing. So I am writing it here, this heat is you are giving to the water, so it will be positive, and the heat that is taking out of water, it will be negative. If you don't show the mod sign, then you will have to write this way, formula this way, and then when you put numerical value of it, then you will put minus sign in that with the numerical value. So to avoid that sign confusion, we have taken the mod value here and already put the sign here, and the same way we are putting this for water, for work, and now work is equal to QH. So you can say this is a net heat given to water, because water is you are giving heat here to the water, and water is rejecting the heat, so net heat that is given to the water is this Q, and it is minus, that's why it is here. So now if you can this is your equation number 2, and now in equation number 1, if you can put this the value of W, then what you will get? QH minus QC over QH, this kind of thing you will get, and then efficiency formula you will get 1 minus QC over QH. So this is the formula for efficiency for heat engine. So you can see that if you want the efficiency to be 1, that is the 100% conversion of heat into mechanical energy, then what you need here, you need this term 0. How can this term be 0? Either the heat that you give to the water is infinite and it is not possible, or the other possibility is that it is 0. So is it possible that you don't reject any heat? If you don't reject any heat, if it is 0, then how you will convert this steam into water? And if you cannot convert this steam into water, then how you will feed this water into this boiler? So it is not possible. So some heat you need to reject, and here comes the second law, that you cannot completely convert the heat into work. You need to discard some heat to the environment. This is the second law, and this is the efficiency formula. Now okay, one thing I just noticed that I had put here this plus sign. Actually this should be negative. Actually, why this should be negative? Because you are doing here, you are giving the work out, you are taking the work out, and because of the definition of the convention of thermodynamics, the work that is given to the system is positive. So it means that if you are taking this work out, then here it's this sign should be negative, you know. That's why you can write this, then only this will be this will come this way. So if it is making you making this kind of confusion to you, then you can understand it this way, that the convention is that heat given to the system is positive and heat work given to the system is positive. So if you are writing some values, if you are giving to the system 500 joule, and if you are taking out the heat 100 joule, and if you are taking out the work that is to be 400 joule. So now you can see this. If you will put it in this law, then you will see that you will put here 500 minus 100 and minus 400. So this is what this is describing it, its numerical value. So I hope you can understand this this way. So now we are going to that topic. Here you can see in your book the statements after you have understood what is the concept of heat engine. You can now read the second law of thermodynamics. So statement, it is given in terms of statements. Statement 1 is no apparatus can operate in such a way that its only effect is to convert heat absorbed by a system completely into work done by the system. That we just saw in our example of heat engine. And second statement is no process is possible which consists solely in the transfer of heat from one temperature level to higher one. So you cannot give heat from a lower temperature to the higher temperature. Just in case of refrigerator, that you can do only with the help of electricity, and but there is no natural way to convert that thing. So you can see that these are just laws that are describing the direction. Just when we started this class, when we saw that the stone can fall down but it cannot go up. So it is the same kind of thing, that from higher temperature to lower temperature heat can flow, but from lower temperature to higher temperature it cannot flow. So in a way, second law of thermodynamics, the dynamics is giving you idea of the direction in which a process can go. So it defines the direction, and all these things you can read in your book. After then all you have understood these things, these statements are there, and then heat engine, that I just described it, all these things I described, efficiency of heat engine, and all these steps are given. And after then this Carnot theorem is here, that is also in your syllabus. You can read it here. From here actually what it is doing is that here you are defining the efficiency of heat engine, then Carnot theorem is defining how much maximum efficiency is possible, whether it is 90%, 95%. So this Carnot theorem is defined, which will calculate or define or develop a formula for the maximum efficiency. For two given heat reservoir, no heat engine can have a thermal efficiency higher than that of a Carnot engine. So in a language, if you will understand it, it is saying that Carnot engine is the engine that works at the maximum efficiency. So this proof has been given here, you can read it here, and they are saying here they are proving it that no other engine can work more efficiently than the Carnot engine. And after then comes here, you don't need to go into the detail of this thermodynamics temperature scale, because it will have to be explained in a very detailed manner. Only thing you can do this thing, that how Carnot engine works. This way this works. PV diagram, in this a gas is taken and this gas is circulated in this way. Heat is given here in this process and heat is taken out of this, and all these are the processes. Adiabatic compression that just I discussed in earlier classes. Isothermal compression, these are the isotherms, and the gas circulates between these points, and here you apply all those things, the formula that for the isothermal and the adiabatic, and after then based on those all those equations, I mean to there are 4 paths. On these 4 paths you will apply, for example in this path you will apply isothermal equation, for this path adiabatic equations, for this path also adiabatic equation, this path isothermal equation. So you will get 4 equations, then you will combine the equation, you will get this formula. And if you get put this formula into the efficiency formula of the heat engine, you will find that the efficiency formula is this. When QC by QH is coming, now you say that temperature, this temperature it is equal to the ratio of the temperature, then you put this formula in that efficiency formula, you will get this. So now you can relate efficiency directly to this TC by QH. So this is your ultimate formula. After then you can solve this problem. Example 5.1, all the data is given, QH is given to you, QC is given to you, maximum efficiency is given to you, then you have to find out how much heat is discarded to river at the rated power. And then in the next class I will go to the entropy. Meanwhile you can read about this. I will explain what is entropy. So in today's class we finished the statement of the second law of thermodynamics, and we explained heat engine and its efficiency, and then Carnot engine, that is the maximum efficiency engine, how it works. We saw that here this engine works this way, and then we, with the help of equations, we proved this formula and then this numerical. So this is the work of today's class. Thank you very much.